Hi everybody, if you're still there, my apologies. We are still playing with this technology. And one thing that we've learned tonight, just to start this all off, is we seem to have a problem connecting this to a pre-programmed event. So my apologies, but we are going to go ahead with the presentation. If you are still there, please join us. Maybe give us some indication by tweeting out, hey, I'm still kicking, I'm still interested. Again, my apologies. What we'll do is we'll run the PowerPoints and everything like that, go through the information that John has for us, and we'll touch base after the PowerPoints have been run, and we'll see if people have identified that they're still connected with us, and answer some questions if there are any questions that come up on Twitter. Again, my apologies. We're still learning at this process, and we have a problem to solve for next time, which is how to deal with live events. So I'm going to turn to John for a second, and he's going to switch the screens to the PowerPoint. So hope to see you later.
All right. Okay, so hopefully we're running. Again, sorry for the confusion. Hopefully you didn't give up on us. And if you did, because we raised the white flag, I just tweeted out that we will absolutely send out the link to everybody afterwards. So if you're still watching, that's great. If you're not watching anymore, that's okay too, because we are going to send this recording to you later on. So don't worry if you're no longer out there. And if you are out there, don't worry either. So, to all of you who may be out there, my name is John Sorakowski. I'm one of the branch trainers for Manitoba, and I'm going to be talking to you for a while about our National Lifeguard Instructor course. And here we go. So in this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about what to expect from the course. We'll begin by reviewing the prerequisites, which you're familiar with from the application process and registering. So to attain this level, you need to have your National Lifeguard Pool, Aquatic Emergency Care, Life-Saving and First Aid Instructor Examiner, and teaching experience of 2 bronze courses. Occasionally, there are other requirements that may be required, but you would have discussed that with Kathy and the branch office when you registered. So following the successful completion of the NL and AEC instructor course, you'll be able to teach your own NL and AEC courses. Now, to become a pool examiner, however, there is a bit of a process that you'll have to go to, and the process is actually under revision right now. So the full process will be shared at a later time, and you'll learn more about that at the instructor course. But for now, to become an instructor, you take the course, you be successful, and then you are an instructor. As to becoming an examiner, again, that'll be shared after. And to become an instructor or examiner in other streams, such as water park, waterfront, or surf, there is also an apprenticeship process, which will be discussed again at the course. So please bring your questions for that. Just before we move forward, I want to remind you as well that the information in these presentations is part of your assignment number 1, which refers to pre-course learning. So there will be some questions afterwards, which you can find on the instructor toolkit, and you can review those and answer them as you go. I'll show you what those look like before we get into the meat of the content. So let's look at the levels you'll be able to teach following successful completion of this course. You'll be able to teach National Lifeguard Pool, Aquatic Emergency Care, CPR for healthcare providers, and oxygen administration. Aquatic emergency care, if you're not too familiar with it yet, is our aquatic first aid. It's equivalent to standard first aid in the eyes of workplace safety and health, but it includes some extra content that we deem important for lifeguards and other people who work around pools to know, such as shallow water rescue, as well as spinal injury management in a basic way for aquatic settings. CPR for healthcare providers and oxygen administration are very specific courses for different audiences. For example, CPR for healthcare providers teaches you guessed it, healthcare providers how to perform CPR. So people like paramedics, nurses usually, athletic therapists, those are the audiences that generally take CPR for healthcare provider courses. And then oxygen administration trains you on how to properly give oxygen to patients who require it. So following this course, you will be able to instruct these courses that are listed on the screen. You may be wondering exactly what we do at the course, and that's a really good question. You've seen the course outline already on the toolkit, but basically the course process looks like this. You'll learn about the learning characteristics of National Lifeguard and AEC candidates because they're a little bit different than in life-saving courses. You'll learn how to plan and manage these courses, considering they are quite long and it can be a quite difficult process the first time you go through. So there are lots of assignments and tasks to help you prepare for that. Next, we'll introduce some new presentation, facilitation, and mentoring techniques to add to your instructor toolkit. You'll learn how to use some more advanced techniques to engage your audience. Finally, and most importantly, you will review how to teach and evaluate lifeguarding and advanced first aid skills. There's a lot of opportunity to practice skills in the course because we want to be sure that you have the expertise that you require in the role of a National Lifeguard instructor. And we recognize that based on where you are, your experience lifeguarding, you may not have necessarily seen all the techniques that are out there. And if you haven't seen them, you might not have practiced them all, and you will get the chance to do that. So you are going into the field as a successful National Lifeguard instructor who truly is a subject area expert, which is what we want. So, like any instructor course, this is evaluated by an instructor trainer. You saw the list of your instructor trainers on the toolkit. There's 4 ITs for this course, but don't worry, they don't all teach at the same time. They take turns, but they are all involved in your evaluation. So you will do peer teaches, just like in your LSI. You'll self-evaluate, you'll be evaluated by your peers, and of course by your trainers. And this is probably very familiar to how your LSI course was taught, because that's how it works in the Lifesaving Society leadership world, and that's the format we use. You can find the evaluation criteria for the entire course on the Toolkit page. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later on in this presentation. So there you go. That's an introduction to the National Lifeguard Instructor course. What I will do now is I'll show you the Toolkit page and just highlight some of those things that I mentioned. So here we go. Here's the toolkit page. You were given a link to this, and hopefully this isn't your first time seeing it. There's lots of information here about the course, including whom to contact, materials you require, the course staff. If you click on the evaluation criteria link, you will be given the evaluation criteria for the course, which we highly recommend you review in advance. And of course, you also have your assignment descriptions. Now, you were given specific assignments by Kathy through email. This is just the generic list of what it looks like. So definitely refer to your list that you have received. The schedule is present on the toolkit page. The pre-show fiasco is also present on the toolkit page, and that's where the video will appear later on once we have uploaded it there. And then of course your assignments for pre-course learning are listed here. So if you're watching this now, it's a good time to pull up the toolkit page so you have these questions in front of you, because to answer them you'll need to be listening attentively as I go through the next section. Also of importance is the lesson planning assignment, which is due April 20th. So that's very soon. Hopefully you've started it already, because Kathy did send you your information a couple days ago, so that gives you enough time. And then there's some other assignments and tasks on here too. So again, that's the toolkit page. If you're having trouble with the toolkit, and hopefully you're not, there is a handy button up here that says help. If you click it, it leads you to some information and toolkit questions. You can send an email to communications@lifesaving.mb.ca. That's me, and I'll help you out. If you have program questions, like you're not sure how to program a Bronze Cross and Standard First Aid course, which is what you have to do for your pre-course lesson plan, you can email Kathy, and hopefully you know her email address by now. So returning to our presentation, we'll now go into a little bit more technical content about the Lifesaving Society. Again, if you're out there still, you are more than welcome to tweet us at LifesavingMB, and the hashtag for this event is LSNLI16. If you're not out there, well, you can email questions afterward. So here we go, a little bit about the Lifesaving Society. Since again, as a national lifeguard instructor, you're considered to be a senior leadership volunteer. That means that you embody what the Lifesaving Society has to offer. You make ethical decisions that reflect the Lifesaving Society in a positive light. And again, you know your content extremely well so that you can teach and evaluate it successfully. A component of that, of course, too, would be following the policies that we have in our program guide, which are things you'll learn throughout the weekend. So the Lifesaving Society is a full-service provider of programs, products, and services designed to prevent drowning, and that's what distinguishes us from many other organizations. Our focus is onefold: drowning. Drowning prevention. How do we do it? We save lives and prevent water-related injury through our training programs, water-smart public education, drowning prevention research, aquatic safety management, and life-saving sport. The Lifesaving Society is able to bring to Canadians the best the world has to offer in lifeguarding, life-saving, and first aid techniques. This is because we represent Canada in the Commonwealth Royal Lifesaving Society, and we're Canada's full member in the International Lifesaving Federation. In fact, the World Health Organization recognizes the ILS as the world authority in the global effort to prevent drowning. So we here at the Lifesaving Society take lead responsibility for drowning prevention in Canada. And as I mentioned, we bring to Canadians the best the world has to offer in lifeguarding, life-saving, and first aid techniques. We've been at it for a long time. 1896 was when the first course was taught here in Canada. We were established in England as the Swimmers Lifesaving Society, and we became the Royal Lifesaving Society in 1904. We are incorporated under Royal Charter, and Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II is our Society's Commonwealth patron. Our Bronze Cross program was introduced in 1945, and the National Lifeguard Service was launched in 1964. Here's a little more information about the different program areas we have. Annually, over 1 million Canadians participate in our swimming, life-saving, lifeguarding, first aid, and leadership programs. Each year, we certify thousands of instructors who provide leadership for our training programs. Over 30,000 Canadians earn our bronze medallion every year, and it's arguably our most popular award. As Canada's lifeguarding experts, we set the standard for lifeguard training and certify all of Canada's national lifeguards. We also focus on water-smart drowning prevention efforts for people who are most at risk in or on around water, or those who can make a significant difference in the effort and pursuit of drowning prevention, such as the parents of young children. We deliver our water smart messages through our Swim for Life program, through the media, and through community action. Our Swim to Survive program provides the essential minimum skills required to survive an unexpected fall into deep water. If you're not sure what the Swim to Survive standard is, look it up. You should know it as a NLI, and you'll also have the chance to do it at the NLI course. The Society conducts research into fatal and non-fatal drowning, aquatic injury, and rescue interventions. Fatal and non-fatal drowning, you might be wondering? We've noticed recently that there's a bit of a disconnect between what people consider to be drowning. Now, it was defined by the World Health Organization in 2002, so if you were confused about my use of the term fatal and non-fatal drowning, look it up. As an NLI, it's important you know your content. Ongoing research and analysis supports the Society's evidence-based water rescue training and water-smart drowning prevention education. We partner very closely with the Drowning Research Prevention Center, which publishes our drowning reports. You can see on the slide that a Canadian drowning report is published annually, and regional drowning reports are also compiled every year. They usually come out in May or June, so keep your eyes peeled because there's excellent information there about how you can help prevent drowning. The Society is also a standard setter, and we establish aquatic safety standards and consult on aquatic safety issues for the industry, governments, and the judiciary. We offer a suite of services to help aquatic facility operators maintain and improve safe pool and waterfront operations, and we do audits and serve as experts in legal cases involving aquatic safety. Finally, the Lifesaving Society is the Canadian governing body for life-saving sport, a sport recognized by the International Olympic Committee and Commonwealth Games Federation. We use life-saving sport to engage and inspire youth in our drowning prevention mission. Age group senior and masters athletes compete regionally, nationally, and internationally, and we also offer certification programs for officials and coaches. If you've never been involved before in a lifeguard competition, it's a really great way to stay involved with the life-saving community. We require volunteers every year, and we especially seek volunteers who have experience as a national lifeguard instructor to act as judges. In fact, that's how I first became involved with the society, and I've been judging ever since, and this year I am competing, believe it or not. The Society is a national federation made up of 10 regional branches and 1 national branch. The national branch is in Ottawa and provides day-to-day support to the regional branches and overall direction. In each province or territory, there is a regional branch, and they represent the Society with all organizations within that province or territory, the affiliates, the individual members, and the general public. Each branch also serves as the official liaison with governments in the area and their agencies. Every branch provides the Society's programs, products, and services to the general public and to life-saving members throughout its geographical area. At the end of the day, this is what guides us. Everything we do is influenced by our motto, our mission, our vision, and our values. Our motto is, "Whomsoever you see in distress, recognize in them a fellow human being." It does have a Latin version as well, and if you ever see Christopher Love, he could probably tell you what it is. The mission of the Society, the Royal Lifesaving Society Canada, strives to eliminate drowning and reduce water-related incidents through public education, research, and training. And why do we do it? Because our vision is that Canada has the lowest annual rate of drowning of any country in the world through safe and positive experiences in, on, and around water. And in fact, we're doing pretty good. We do have a very, very low annual rate of drowning, but it still is about 500 people. And when you think about the amount of people you know, or the amount of people in your circles, 500 is a lot. So despite the fact that we are doing quite well, we have a long way to go. Take a look at our values. These are important because there's a question about them, and again, it guides what we do. We're a drowning prevention and life-saving organization, and humanitarian principles are our basis. Volunteers lead and support our organization. We operate with fairness, respect, inclusiveness, trust, and integrity. And we are a collaborative, innovative, and sustainable organization. All of these values are reflected in the actions you see on the slide. These are also the actions that you can find in your pre-course learning assignment, where we ask you to match a Lifesaving Society value to each of the actions that are listed here. As an NLI, we expect you to embody these values and bring them to every course you teach and every pool deck you step foot on. So on behalf of the Society, we are happy to welcome you to the team of lifeguarding experts.
Okay, so that was our presentation. Thank you, John, very much for going through that. I know there's still a few of you out there that have been watching, and we've been looking through the Twitter feed to see if there were any questions that come up. Don't have any questions so far, but we'll give you a second. If you got anything, tweet it out to us. I was just taking a look here, and Chris Love posts, glad to see that things are online now, and thank you, Chris. And again, everybody, my apologies for a little bit of technical difficulty at the beginning. Earlier on, we know we had Megan Higgins involved, and Jordan Grenier and Steve Anderson as well was tweeting in to us. Ali Deer, Joshua Malinchuk, and that looks to be the group. So again, if you have any other questions, please tweet them out with that hashtag, and we'll be happy to get those answers to you. Or once this presentation finishes, email either Kathy or myself, and you should have those email addresses. Mine is ktortiff@lifesaving.mb.ca. Kathy's is Kathy P at lifesaving.mb.ca. Kplet, pardon me. Kathy's is Kplet at lifesaving.mb.ca. This video, once we finish it, is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and see it. We will share a link to that YouTube channel posting in the toolkit so that you can access it nice and simply there. And again, I promise for the next one, I will figure out how to do events. And at that, I'll ask John to just sign us off. And
no, we still have one presentation.
Oh, we have another presentation, so my apologies. John's going to link us back to that.
All right, yeah, me again. So I thought I'd share with you our Latin motto, which is available on our Lifesaving website. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I don't speak Latin, but it is interesting to see that there is a Latin version available. So there you go. The last part of our presentation tonight is part of some professional learning about how candidates learn. And the picture on the slide, I just want to give you a little background. This is from a recertification we did with all of our NLIs and instructor trainers about 2 years ago. And you can see people are up and moving and collaborating and networking. And we think that's probably the biggest strength of our organization, is that the networking and the people are really the best parts about it. You get to meet a lot of great colleagues and coworkers, and no matter when you need help, there's always someone out there that can help you with it. So it's almost like a little reunion every recertification for advanced leadership staff or volunteers, because you get to see all these friendly faces again. So we look forward to you being a part of that. In this presentation specifically, we're going to front load you a little bit with information about how candidates learn that's relevant to the National Lifeguard Instructor. So we already know you know a lot about teaching and learning from your LSI course and professional experience you've developed along the way, and perhaps outside experience that you've brought in as well that's not necessarily aquatics based. And now we want to just fine tune it a little bit for what you need to know as an NLI. So over the next little bit, I'm going to talk to you about these 4 areas: developing a positive learning environment, critical and creative thinking, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and how to structure presentations. So first of all, a positive learning environment, which is made up of physical, cognitive, and social emotional factors. Think about a course you've taken. If you had to sit all day with limited breaks, you were probably physically uncomfortable. If the content was too far away from what you already know, you experienced cognitive discomfort. And if no one was friendly and no one talked to you, including the course conductor, your social emotional well-being was also affected. These 3 areas are crucial and will directly affect how a candidate perceives your course. One way to manage the social emotional aspect of your course is to consider the 5 stages of group development, because most groups pass through these stages as they go through a course or they go through time together, and we'll look at each one in detail. The first stage is forming, which is where the group comes together. It's the really awkward stage at the beginning of the course, which is often broken up by icebreakers or other team building events. And as much as some candidates dislike those events and activities, they're actually quite important, because candidates are looking for low risk ways to engage with the group so they can measure and see how everyone is. They're watching to see what is expected of the group and what's acceptable behavior. So whatever you try to do, make it low risk in these in this stage of group development. Standing up and dancing, for example, is probably not a good forming strategy to use, but you may use an icebreaker such as like the toilet paper one, which sounds like it might not be the best, but it's the one where you rip off a piece of toilet paper and then the amount of toilet paper you rip off dictates how many things you share about yourself. Or even just partner introductions. Those are really good ways to go through the forming stage. Next is storming, which inherent in the name, it carries a bit of negativity. This is where the group has started to come together and work begins, but it doesn't really result in many productive outcomes. Some people begin to take control of the group while the rest of the group is divided, and conflict or little storms are quite common at this stage. If you think about a National Lifeguard course you've well, not taught, but maybe attended, or a bronze course, this is where it's kind of like dog eat dog, right? A group that is still storming is likely to blame one another for mistakes and situations or rescues, while another person is trying to do everything, including others' tasks. Norming is next, and this is where the group has begun to understand one another and has developed group norms, group expectations for behavior. Conflict shifts from being about other people to the actual tasks that need to be accomplished. Communication has improved and a sense of belonging has developed. The group is less reliant on you as they're making progress, which motivates them to produce good results. That'll lead to performing, which is where the group works really well together and looks out for another's interests. Collaborative efforts lead to high productivity, and there may still be some conflict, but it's productive and leads to good problem solving and decision making. This is ideally where all your groups end up. Finally, there is adjourning. So the group has accomplished its task and no longer needs to meet. So this is quite often at the end of the course after the exam. It's a social time, and you may see your candidates taking group photos, sharing contact information, and celebrating together. So consider what your role is as an NLI in each of these stages of group development, and reflect on how are you going to help groups go through these stages. Now, also consider the physical and cognitive aspects of a learning environment. We talked at length about the social emotional capacity, but what about cognitive and physical? What can you do? Next, motivation. What motivates you to do something? You're motivated because of either an intrinsic or extrinsic factor. In some cases, you might be motivated by both. Intrinsic refers to inner motivation, a self-desire to learn and try new things. You're learning and doing new things simply because you like to do that. It gives you personal satisfaction. This is in contrast with extrinsic motivation, which is where you do something to get something. The motivating factors are external, from outside of you. Quite often money or some sort of reward are extrinsic motivators. For example, maybe you initially took your National Lifeguard course because you heard guards make a lot of money. This is an extrinsic factor. But after a period of time, you realize that you generally enjoy the duties of a lifeguard. In that case, your initial extrinsic motivation turned into something intrinsically motivating. So as a National Lifeguard instructor, you have to be aware of how you can use both intrinsic and extrinsic factors to motivate your candidates. Now, motivating with extrinsic factors is really easy. You can brag and boast about all the great things that will happen by being a lifeguard, like money and maybe a good body. But using only extrinsic motivators actually leads to a reduction in long-term interest in something. So consider, how are you going to use internal motivation or intrinsic motivators? Here are some to consider. Challenge is one way, where you work toward personally meaningful goals at an intermediate level of difficulty. And the key here is that you are working at a state in which you are comfortable. It's not too far off and it's not too hard to grasp at. The challenge is manageable. Curiosity is where there's something that attracts your attention, or there's a discrepancy between what you know right now and what you could know with a bit of instruction. Control refers to the fact that people like to have control over what's happening to them, so you should let learners choose throughout the course. They should make decisions about what they're doing. Fantasy refers to learners using mental images of things and situations that aren't actually present. It's almost like making learning into a game. Competition refers to comparing your performance to others. Cooperation means working in groups and learning how to rely on one another to achieve a goal. And then all of this is based on the notion of recognition, recognizing someone for their learning and congratulating them for the progress they've made can be exceptionally intrinsically motivating. So consider ways you might use this information in your National Lifeguard courses that you instruct. Bring some examples to the face-to-face portion of this course, and you'll share with your colleagues. The second last section is about critical and creative thinking. Critical thinking means thinking reflectively and evaluating evidence. So an example could be whether a rescue was done successfully or not. Creative thinking, on the other hand, is solving problems in new ways. A really good example of this is when the instructor in an NLI or a National Lifeguard course gives you a broken hip. How do you deal with it? Usually people have no idea at the beginning, and then they realize, hey, we could use this spine board as a splint to get this person out. That's creative thinking. So knowing these two definitions, you can probably think of other ways to use each in a National Lifeguard course. Again, think of a couple of examples and bring them with you to your course. The last section refers to how to effectively structure a presentation, and we are looking for this structure in the presentations you give during the course. So use this information wisely. A presentation has a clear plan or an agenda, so learners know exactly where you are. You may recall at the beginning of this presentation, I did just that. I outlined what I was going to be telling you. That way, you're saying to yourself, okay, this presentation is almost over. You know where we are, and you're able to set goals about your learning. A hook or a mindset activity refers to getting someone interested in your topic. It might be through using questions or pictures or personal or previous knowledge rather, but there needs to be something that the learner can grasp onto in order for them to be engaged. During your presentation, which are all the purple points that you have here, there needs to be appropriate time allocation for each topic, time for questions or clarification, a logical progression between activities, and then of course a variety of those activities. So we recognize right now this has been a lot of me speaking to you and reading off slides. However, once you're at the course, you will see that this information you were front-loaded with will be very helpful, and that's how we're building in varied activities. Finally, there should be a closure or a review of learning, kind of the last kick at the can before a presentation or something is over. This gives your learners one last chance to think about the information in the context of your presentation, and hopefully they're leaving with some really valuable information and details. So this is the end of this presentation. Keep in mind that this is front-loading instruction. We're giving you this to help you prepare to be a National Lifeguard instructor. You're certainly going to learn much more during the course, but we're hoping that you took away some information from these presentations that'll help you get there.
Okay, so thanks again, John. Just look through our Twitter feed real quickly, and I see that we haven't got anything new that's come in. So we'll assume that those that did manage to stick around with us through our difficulties don't have any questions. Again, like I said, this video will be archived on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it if you didn't get a chance to. And we will also provide a link in the toolkit to the video so that it can be viewed later by those that didn't get a chance to watch it tonight. But without further ado, I think we will call it an evening. And again, thank you very much for letting us experiment with our technology through this course. That's all for me. Thanks very much.